For my cultural plunge assignment, I chose to attend a Spanish Catholic Mass. I used to take Spanish classes, but it has been several years since, and I do not remember anything, to be honest. And I have found that sometimes others who only know Spanish will think that I know Spanish because I think they assume that I'm a different race than I actually am, and then they will try to ask for help. I have tried to help as best as I could, but I have found that I can get extremely uncomfortable and nervous when others assume that I can speak Spanish, and I can't. This being said, I thought that an appropriate cultural plunge would be to immerse myself in an event or an activity that involves only native Spanish speakers. So I chose to attend a Spanish Mass. I attended a Spanish Mass at the All Saints Catholic Newman Center on Sunday, April 3rd, 2022 at 1 p.m. A lot of the parts of a Catholic Mass tend to be in Latin often, but it was a bit different at this Spanish Mass. The introit as well as the entrance hymn was all in Spanish, and I actually found this to be quite enjoyable to sing along with the people all around me. I do love to sing in general, so I do think that I was able to find solace in this, which helped me to be a bit more comfortable. A couple of things that I learned about the Spanish culture through this experience is that they take receiving the Eucharist or the body of Christ very seriously. It is a well-known fact in the Catholic community that if one is not properly disposed and prepared for the Eucharist, they must not receive the Eucharist. In English Catholic Masses, I have found that everyone receives the Eucharist no matter what. This is not to say that they are not properly disposed, as I have no way of personally knowing that, but it is to say that I saw a very large difference in the amount of people who got in line to receive when comparing the English and the Spanish Masses. At the Spanish Mass, it seemed as if people were more likely not to receive than to receive, which I did find interesting. Something I learned about Spanish practices is that Our Lady of Guadalupe is held in quite the high regard in the Spanish community. Our Lady of Guadalupe is an apparition of Mary that appeared to Juan Diego in Mexico. I found that she was mentioned in the prayers of the faithful or the prayer intentions during Mass, and I also heard families praying to her after the Mass service had ended. I think that the main insight that I gained from this experience is that there is a certain call of reverence that is required when receiving Eucharist in church, and that I personally must make sure that I'm properly disposed to receive him. When it comes to my prior expectations, I was just expecting a Mass, but in Spanish, and to a certain extent, that is what I got. I was also expecting people to potentially stare at me because I had never attended that Mass before. However, much to my relief, I was not stared at. I think that I did have an assumption that the Spanish Mass would be louder than the English Mass, and that assumption was actually proven to be true in this specific certain situation, case and scenario. However, while the music was not as loud as I thought, there was quite a bit of whispering that I did not expect. It was not loud by itself, but it was loud when there was a lot of people whispering at the same time, which happened quite frequently throughout the Mass. When I first attended the Mass, I was feeling a bit anxious as I did not speak Spanish, and I was worried someone was going to need my help and I was not going to be able to help them. However, no one asked for my help, and trying to sing along with the music was helpful in calming my own nerves. As for the rest of the Mass, I felt fine because everyone was not focused on me, but on themselves, their family, and Jesus or the Mass. I did linger after Mass, thinking that it would be good, although I was anxious about it if someone did approach me. No one did approach me, though, and I was entirely unsure about how to approach anyone else when I could not even speak their language. But after about 10 or 15 minutes, I did leave and go home. As far as my familiarity with this new event goes, I have to admit that perhaps this was something a bit more familiar since I have been to an English Mass. However, I was catering to my own discomfort in the sense that I chose this activity so that I could challenge myself to be around those whose native language was Spanish, and my own native language is English. After leaving the Mass, I reflected on my experience and thought that it would be interesting to engage in a conversation in which I was the person who needed help and the other did not know my own language. So I thought that might be something to try in the future. According to Obiacore on page 185, positive change results from positive risk-taking and some risky actions. I am not sure if engaging in such a conversation would be considered a positive risk-taking action, but I'm still reflecting on what else may constitute it. As far as what I learned about myself, I think I learned more about my own beliefs, my own current cultural makeup, and just myself in general as well. When it comes to my beliefs, seeing others receive the Eucharist so reverently inspired me to ponder more about my own receiving of the Eucharist and whether or not I am disposed to receive every Sunday. And when it comes to my own cultural makeup, I think attending one different type of experience has inspired me to put myself into all different sorts of experiences that I may have already had the opportunity but did not take to go to. For example, I now would love to experience an all Latin Mass, which is something that has intimidated me for a long time. And I would also like to attend an Orthodox church with my friend Alana, who has invited me a couple of times. Overall, I would have to say that I resonated with what Obiakor mentioned in the text from Parker about finding one's sacred center on page 186. My resonating, I believe, begins with the following quote. Most of us arrive at a sense of self and vocation only after a long journey through alien lands. But this journey bears no resemblance to the trouble-free travel packages sold by the tourism industry. Obiakor and Parker go on to say that this journey is more akin to the ancient tradition of pilgrimage, a transformative journey to a sacred center of hardships, darkness, and peril. In tradition of a pilgrimage, those hardships are not seen as accidentals, but as integral to the journey itself. And I could not agree more. I do so think that this resonates with me because that is what Catholicism is. That's how it is. Whether the Mass be in Spanish or English, one is called not just to take the easy road in life, but one is called to a sacrificial love that wills the good of another and is akin to a lifelong pilgrimage. I think that overall, what I got out of this experience is that no one necessarily cares to hurt another person who is just simply trying to experience something new. As Obiakor mentions in the text on page 184, for multicultural education to be truly multicultural in the US and the world over, it must involve knowledge, analysis, commitment, action, and risk-taking. I think that I have successfully taken the knowledge, analysis, commitment, and action to heart in this experience, and I am meditating upon how I can involve the risk-taking aspect as well in my own future. Thank you.